All right, so the next order of business is going to be to click on a customer, and then when I click on it, I get that information. So if I click on my name, Kirsten, then I'm going to get the information in the database, which is the address and that kind of a thing. So let's see, in the last video, we hard-coded in this edit customer, which if I click on it, let's just see what happens. So that breaks. So that failed, it seems like. And then my show customers is still working. So let's acknowledge why the edit customer is breaking. And then we'll go from there. So I'm going to create a new terminal so I don't have to close out my server there. And again, do PHP artisan route list. Okay. And there we go. So I have, when I click on edit customer, because I hard coded in the 7, I'm getting nothing. And why is that? Well, let's look and see. If I look at my route and it says customers with a value, let's see, we were wanting the edit, right? So we wanted to go to our edit function. And if I look at the request that is being provided on my behalf, it says it's a GET request, which this is, but I need the ID, which I have, but in that GET request, I also need the edit. So if I do a /edit, then I'm getting that page. Okay, so that makes sense. So I'm going to eliminate edit customer anyway, because we're not going to be doing it from the menu, because I'm not going to have an ID hard-coded in. So we'll do that. I think I kind of took for granted this portion of my nav in my last video. So let me address those two, and then we will fix our, we'll do our show customer, show an individual customer. All right, so going back to my appblade.php, no, sorry, the navblade.php, because that's where my navigation is. I'm just going to get rid of edit customer because that's not where my edit customer is going to come from. It's going to come from another link. All right, so let me get that, make sure that's working. Okay, great. And I took for granted, or I didn't share with you where I was getting this Laravel, so let me do that right now. So in the Bootstrap, automatically was provided this brand. And so if we put in config parentheses and then app name, what's being plugged in here is being provided from, I'm going to go back to my project navigation here and click on the env file. Remember that this is where we went to change our database information. And so this was where we changed DB connection and all of that. But also you'll see and these are environment variables, that's where the Laravel is coming from. So I'll change this to Guitar Shop. I'll do Kirsten Guitar Shop until I come up with something more clever. And if I save that, oops, Guitar, okay. Anyway, so if I save that, now this should change to, let me get rid of, let's see. That was not what I anticipated, so I'm going to guess that I need to close out my server. So let's close this one, let's close this one and start it again. And let's see if that looks like I have oh, thank you very much for fixing my problem. So yes, I did a mistake, and that was I can't have spaces. So I need to put this in strings. Okay, let's try that. And then let's run that again and start up my customers again. And now I'm getting the correct Dooley Bopper there. Okay, so where do I have that? I have that going to the welcome page, which we never changed. Oh, I changed the word Laravel. Whatever. Okay, so now we're going to acknowledge these names and click on a name to get the individual pieces of information. So let's head over to that scenario. All right, I don't need my nav up anymore. So we're going to go into our controllers. And we have agreed, I don't know if we did agree, so let me go back to PHP list, PHP artisan route list, and try to determine, I think we did, but let me just make sure. So if I give just a customers and an ID, as a GET request, then customer show is the function that's going to fire. So that means I need to come into this function, and I'm going to utilize this to show my individual customer. Okay, so let me do this to start with. So I'm just going to return ID. I just want to know that this is working. I always feel like troubleshooting one step at a time is a good plan. All right, so it says if I do customer and I do 7, so I am getting a 7 there. That's good. Okay, so now I need to provide a link here that's going to pull up that request. All right, so that's on my customers page, which is views, pages, and customers. So we need to do a link here on our first name. And so I'm just going to copy and paste this in so you don't have to see me typing. You can put it on pause and fill it in yourself. And so what I've done is put in an A tag that is creating a GET request, a route to my customers, and the customer ID. So I'm replicating this scenario, right? And then there's my link name. So let's see if that's going to work. So let me refresh this. And now I am getting Nick, Ethan. So if I click on one, I should be getting that ID that's returned. So that's looking correct. ID that's returned. Okay, so then the next step is to go into our controllers, and I think we need to get that customer from the database. So remember, let's see, I'm going to scroll up and look how we did it before. We're using the customer model. We didn't do an all. We don't want all of the customers. So where did we do that? We must have done it in the edit. So I'm just looking back to remind us that we've already done this. So here we said we could just get a single customer by getting the customer ID. So I'm just going to copy in these two pieces of code and put that into my show. Okay, so I'm not going to keep this one. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm getting a customer for that ID. All right, so let's refresh just to be sure. So if I put in Kirsten, I am getting Kirsten's information as raw data. Okay, and then let me try a different one. Let me try Ethan. Ethan, so I'm getting in Ethan's information. So I know I'm getting the raw data portion incorrect. And so now it's just a matter of creating a view that can return that data and then sending the view that information. And so again, I'm just going to copy and paste. So we're going to, under show, we need to return a view. I'm going to return pages. I'm going to create a view called customer. So one was customers, and now I'm going to create a view for customer. And I'm going to give that view the one customer that was pulled up here. So that means I need to create that view. So I'm going to go to my pages, create a new file, and I'm going to call that customer singular, because I'm just showing one customer, blade.php. And then in customer, remember that we're going to extends, and it's going to extend layout.app. And I need a section. Oh, you added an extra little dooley bopper for me here, so let me fix that. And we need to section, I think it's going to try and do one for me. There we go. Section content, there we go. And I'm just going to put in a first name and a last name just so I can see that this is working. And so if I look at my H1 tag, remember that my controller, let me just put these side by side so we can see them together. Remember that my controller sent over a variable called customer. So there's my customer, which is containing my record set, in this case one customer, that should have first name and last name. So let me refresh and see if that works. So and then I put in Kirsten, and I'm getting an error. So let me figure out what my error is here. Let's see, pages customer. It's saying it can't find my customer on this page. So maybe I know what I did wrong. So if I look here at this variable should match this variable. So I think I'll make this one a singular customer. Okay, so now my record set that was returned is singular. I'm sending that singular record set into a variable called customer. And now let's see what happens. So let me refresh just to make sure I've got everything current. Now I run customer and I'm just getting that name. Sweet. And so again, I'm going to copy and paste. So you're not seeing me copy it all in, but I want to complete that information and I'm going to add so that you can see it, I hope. I'm just putting in the customer address, city, state, and zip. So now I have that information. All right, so show customers. If I show an individual customer, I'm definitely getting that information. Show customers, I'm getting, let's do Joe. So now we've got our individual customers. So in the next step, what shall we do? I guess in the next step, we will click on a button here that will take us to edit this customer. So that's where we're headed next.